And hello everyone, welcome back to CSC 151. In the last video we went over formulas. In this video we're going to do future prediction sheets. Now this video is going to have a bit of coding. And it's going to be not necessarily as simple as saying equal sum, equal average, equal min, equal max. There's going to be some of that in here, but we're going to have to think outside the box and make ourselves an equation of our own choosing, okay? So here we go. Once again, this is generally all we're going to need. Is we're going to have our gross profit from our previous two assignments, and then we're just going to go and make some percentage change formulas, and then we're going to just predict what it is that our company is going to do, okay? So first things first, make a new thing. Ignore that it says sheet 4. That's just simply because it said I already had a sheet 3. So let's say future predictions. And this is going to be David Monticchio. And this is going to be 7/23/23. And boop, 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 boop. Excuse me. Zoom in. There we go. So, just like last time, we can simply copy and we can paste this in. But remember, what will paste paste? Paste will paste everything. So if I simply do a normal paste, and once again, fixing the additional room needed by simply stretching out these columns here. This right here is an equation. Now you'll notice I only want my gross profit. So if I just simply delete these rows, I no longer have a reference now, because now I have something that doesn't exist minus something. And if I delete this as well again, oh, now I really have a problem. I'm referencing a cell that doesn't exist versus a cell that doesn't exist. So let's just undo all of that. Command Z my way. Actually, let's not Command Z my way out of this. Let me just grab all those, delete them. Let me actually do this properly. Select my stuff. Once again, copy. But this time, let me just paste specifically my values. Now you'll notice this is no longer a formula. This is specifically values. So I can get rid of this stuff right here, delete those, and nothing bad happens to my values. I just need to go and make sure that I put these guys in, accounting format, remove the decimal points, and I just need to make sure that I, do my formatting again. Boom, there's my yearly finances. What did I do? I made that. I made that. Cell styles, I made that heading 1, didn't I? Boom, there's heading 1. And that. Boom, boom. Center it. Boom. I'm going to do this and this. Boom, boom. Bold, underline. There we go. And that's our first part. That's the information we already have from previous assignments. Now then, we're going to make ourselves an equation. That equation is going to be our percentage change. Okay? So basically, how much from this year to this year did we change? How much from this year to this year did we change? How much from this year to this year did we change? So, the way we do that is we would have, first, every equation starts with equal. Now, if you're going to figure out a percentage of something, how much one number is of another, you would use division. So, current year divided by previous year. And that's telling me that this number, this 170 billion, because remember, we got 3 zeros on that we've not counted for because our numbers were in thousands. But this 170 is 1.1 times larger than this 152. And if I were to switch that to a percentage format, that's telling me that I've got 112%. Well, that's partly correct. It's partly correct. That is true that 170 is 112% of 152. But that's not what I asked for. I asked for the percentage change. This number did not change by 112%. It really only changed by 12%. So I need to figure out a way to get rid of 100% from this equation in order to make it work. And that's as simple as doing -1. Because remember, in a decimal format, 1 is 100%. 0.1 is 10%. 0.01 is 1%, so on and so forth. So that gives us, 12%. Now it's not really 12%. It's really like 11.72. It's really a confusing number, but rounded it's 12%. But that's also why you can't simply just say 12%, because if you just type 12%, well, that's flat out 12%. The equation is actually showing, no, it's not. It's actually different. So if you're the type of person that just wants to type your answer in, you're not getting accurate information. You might be off by an inch at the start, but if you're trying to shoot a rocket to the moon, being off an inch at the start means you're going to be off by miles at the end. So we're going to use equations to be accurate and update automatically for us. So same thing, equal current year divided by previous year minus 1. And same thing, equal current year divided by previous year minus 1. Now, a thing to note, if you picked a company that has a negative value for a year, this equation is going to get screwy. And if that happens, come see me in class and we'll figure it out, because this equation does not really play well with negative numbers. As you can see, if I were to make this a negative number, it now says that going from that to that is negative 207%, which it probably is, but going from a negative to a positive wound up being negative 246%. So this guy might not be wrong, but now this guy is. This is actually a positive. So if you're having negative numbers are going to screw this up. So let's just make sure that our company is solvent. And now for this guy, equal this guy divided by, oh wait, there is no previous year. Yeah, if I try to divide this number by a word and then subtract 1, it has no way to figure out what that means. So your first year, whatever year that is, whatever data point it is not gonna. This is gonna be blank. Okay, that's gonna be blank. By the way, I will just make these guys, for the sake of argument here, I will make these guys green. No, green's not gonna work. I will make them automatic, but I'll make them golden, just to showcase anything in a golden box is actually a formula. Speaking of formulas, let's make them right now. So I know we have our average, we're going to have our median, we're going to have our minimum, we're going to have our maximum, and nope, I don't have a median. I don't have a median, I have a weighted average. Okay, so I will go in there and make sure that this is a, what would I have? What blue did I have? Did I have that blue? No, I didn't. I might have had that blue. Okay, cool. That looks good. So bold, italic, and while I'm at it, let me just make a nice box border here, just to showcase that this area specifically is separate. I'm going to make those percentage formats. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. So now, we're going to get ourselves the average, the minimum, and the maximum of this percentage format, of this percentage change over here. So equal average, you already know how to do those guys, equal average, boom. The average of 7, 46, and 12 wound up being 21. Equal minimum of these guys, it's going to be 7. Equal maximum of these guys is going to be the 46. Now then, that's the easy part. This guy is going to be interesting, our weighted average, because allow me to explain what's happening with a weighted average. Basically, you've had like courses where your final grade, 30% of it is, calculated by the big project, or 40% of it is the test, or something. I don't do weighted averages in this class, but you've had classes that do. Basically, in a normal average, which is, this number plus this number plus this number, we've got 3 numbers, so we're dividing by 3. Each one of these numbers is essentially equal to 1 weight. What we're going to do is we can change these weights. So maybe this guy's worth 1, but this guy's worth, 21. And this guy's worth 109, Now this 12 is 109 times more important than this 7. We can do something weird like that by changing our weights. What I'm going to simply do is I'm going to simply go 1, 2, 3. Our earliest data point is worth 1. Our next one's worth 2. Our next one's worth 3. If we had another data point here, this one would be worth 4. We had another data point here, it'd be worth 5, so on and so forth. I'm just going to simply increase by 1 every time. And I'm going to keep those numbers there right now just to showcase what's happening. So now, this is where we have to write our equation. And we essentially just have to figure out how to do this. I'm going to go into Sketchpad here and showcase what's happening mathematically if you were to write this out. Because it's going to be easier to see on a clean sheet of paper than it will in a line. Oops, let me pick a color. There we go. So basically what's happening is we've got, number 1 times 1. Actually, let me phrase that. Let me say A times 1. That's happening. Plus whatever our second number is, B times 2. Plus C times 3. And divided by, now you would think that number would be 3, because I got 1 number, 2 number, 3 number. But that's going to be wrong. We don't have 3 equal weights. We have 1 weight right here. We have 2 weights right there. So 1, 2, 3, and there's another 3, so 4, 5, 6. We have 6 weights total with this. So I divide it by 6. If I had another instance where I had like D, times 4 in there, well, now that 6 becomes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. So we're essentially looking at a triangular number. And this would be the equation of how we would wind up doing this. And that makes sense as we draw this out in one line. Here's our problem. The computer does not do multiple lines very well. So if I do equals, and I say this number times 1, I could click this cell, but I want to keep this as simplified as possible, plus this number times 2, plus this number times 3, and then I just divide that by 6, we have the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally problem. Anyone remember Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally? It's the order of operations in mathematics. please, parentheses, so P for parentheses, excuse exponents, my, multiply, dear, divide, aunt, addition, Sally, subtraction. So parentheses happen first, and then, oh look, division happens next, and then after the division, these pluses happen. And that gives us a weird number, where a 7, a 46, and a 12, the average is 104? Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong, it doesn't make sense. If you get a number that doesn't make sense, it shouldn't. Now, here's what happened. It only divided this number by 6 before it did anything with these guys, because division happens before addition. So to fix that, we need to make sure that we have ourselves parentheses so that we do the entirety of our denominator, denominator, numerator, which one's top, which one's bottom. Point being, we make sure we do the entire top of this equation before we divide. So now that I have these extra set of parentheses around it, and you will notice that the program tries to help color code things. So this black one goes to this black one, this red goes to this red, so on and so forth. Now I hit enter, and that makes more sense. My average is 22 instead of 21, because this number was counted 3 times, this number was counted twice, this number, the lowest, was the least important and got counted with 1. So that's how you would do a weighted average. Now then, if by any chance you are using Google Sheets instead, you can simply say equal average dot weighted. And then you would just grab your data, and then comma, grab your weights, and that would work. However, that doesn't actually work in Excel, so we don't have a solution for that. We need to actually figure it out mathematically like this. So that's the hard part out of the way. Now, with that information, which, speaking of which, let me make sure that I just label that these guys are, in fact, the formulas. So these are the cell styles. Come on, cell styles. I'll use heading 1 again. These are my formulas. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take these guys, and we're going to project out a couple of years. So let's say 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. There we go. I'll just keep it in line with this guy. Oh, while I'm at it, and let me insert a new cell above here, because I want to go and merge and center you guys. Make you a heading 1, because I'm being lazy right now and just picking heading 1 all the time. And this is the actual future predictions part. And, oh, jeez. Let me get rid of that clear, no fill. Boom. I just want these guys to have that fill color. There we go. I had the blue extending on into the void. So, what we're going to do here, oh, by the way, these guys are formulas, so let me just make sure that I indicate that, yes, they are in fact formulas. And by the way, everything down here is going to be a formula. So, these are formulas, these are formulas, these guys are formulas. The only bit of information that's not a formula is our dollar amounts. And speaking of dollar amounts, this is all going to be an accounting format here. So let me just go into accounting, remove our decimal points, we're good. So, how is this going to work? Well, we're going to assume that the year 2022, on this row, in 2023, considering it's on the average row, this number will grow by 21%, because that's our average. And then whatever this number is will grow by 21% and become this number in 2024. then grow by 21%, and become this in 2025, so on and so forth. This number will grow by weighted to become that. This number by weighted will become that. This number by weighted will become that, so on and so forth. Do the same thing with the min, do the same thing with the max. So, let's get started. As always, every equation begins with an equal, and now we have to figure out what we're doing. Well, we can grab our previous year's number, obviously, and I want to figure out what 21% of this number is. So I'll need to multiply it, and oh, that doesn't make much sense now, does it? So 170 times 21% gave me 36. Well, that didn't grow by 36. I just found out what 21% of it was. So I need to somehow add back in my original number. Now I could do that by simply adding the original number back in, or I could do something and says, that guy, because remember, 100% is 1, so I can just go and say plus 1 and get the same effect. Either way will work. And same thing with this guy. So equals our 2022 number times, this time weighted. So weighted plus 1, boom, there we go. Same thing over here, equals our 2022 number times, this time our minimum number, plus 1. There we go. So basically we're doing a reverse of this, where we subtracted 1, this time we're minusing 1. So equals, wrong number, times, parentheses, because remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses come first. Boom. And there we go. That kind of seems to make sense. Boom, 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 boom. Equations that work. And of course, obviously, if this was actually like a 1-9, obviously you saw how my numbers wound up changing, all that sort of lovely stuff. Now then, this next part can actually be very easy, because realistically, we only need to get the first column, and we could just copy and paste onto forever. So, because remember, you'll notice how these numbers are always the same distance apart. And where's our previous year? Right before us. Where's the previous year for this one? Right before it. Where's the previous year for this one? Right before it. Remember how I said equations will move with the cell? So if I were to copy this and say copy, paste, you'll notice, well, the distance being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up, 8, 9, 10, 11 up, and 1, 2, 3 over. This guy right here is still 7 up, and then 11 up and 3 over. The position of the references move with me. So, as long as I get this equation correct the first time, I can get this equation to move with me and autofill in. So, I need my previous year, and then I need to multiply it. And remember, my previous year this time is 2023, because I'm now in 2024. I need this guy plus 1. And that will work for right here. But now I have a problem. If I copy and paste, my number's the same. So this guy, 1 over, and then 7 up. This guy is, see, 1 over. Oh no, but 7 up is nothing. 1 over, oh, but 7 up is nothing. So, there's something I need to fix about this. And that's simply, I need to lock this number in place. And I do that with the dollar sign. So $1 before the B, $1 before the 10. So, before the column, before the row, and that will always stay in place. So now if I copy and paste this, I'm 1 over, but this guy stayed in place. I'm 1 over, but this guy stayed in place. And I could, in theory, continue this out to 2027, 28, 29, 30, so on and so forth, because this equation would never ever change. I could figure this out like this. There's 1 over, and that stayed in place. I could predict this out into whoop, 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 whoop. I could predict this out into infinity. So, same thing. Equal previous year times, but this time we're not using the average, we're going to use the weighted average. And remember to make sure that we have ourselves the dollar signs. Boom. And now I can just simply copy and paste or autofill it over, and there we go. Same thing, previous year times, this time using the minimum because we're on the minimum row, plus 1, and this time dollar sign, and there we go. And once again, this time using maximum, equal times, that guy, because we're on the maximum row, plus 1. Remember to make sure you have dollar sign, and now we just move this all over. Yay! And that's how, and now we have predicted the future for 4 different ways. If they grow by their average of the past 3 years, they'll wind up with this. If they grow by their weighted average, they'll go by this. If they grow by their minimum, the smallest average, the smallest growth they've had every year, they'll grow it by that. If they go by the maximum growth, they'll wind up like that. Now, do I think Apple is actually going to have this consistent type of thing happen for 4 years running? No. Do I think it's going to happen like this 4 years running? No. Do I think it's going to happen like this 4 years running? No. Do I think it's going to happen like this 4 years running? No. The chances of any of these being accurate is astronomically low. But it's just a fun way to, figure out what we think might happen. Reality is the market and business and all that sort of stuff never goes the way you actually predict it. So this is just learning equations. Speaking of which, we learned, honestly, equations that aren't simply average, min, max. We had to actually think on our own and figure out what to do. And that's what a lot of computer programming is. It's, here's a problem, how do we solve it? What's the rule set? Well, in this case, our rule set is math. And that's what we're doing. So, let's save it. Let's go and make sure that in the View tab, it's going to work out in a normal page. Oh, yay, it works out in a normal page. So, save it, submit it through Canvas, and we'll move on to the next video. See you guys there. Have fun.